It seems to me that one of the things you say so much, and I really like the way it sounds, is I am source energy and I am me here in this physical body. Intellectually, I get that, but I don't feel deep inside a knowing.
Your intellect is one thing. In other words, it sort of kind of makes sense, but until you feel it, you're not in the vortex knowing it.
Right.
In other words, that knowledge is that emotional feeling. Let us give you some practical things that can shore that all up. So there are a sequence of processes that we've been offering them for years, but we put them in a sequence at the early part of this year. And Esther, when she got back to the bus after the workshop, she transcribed it for herself and decided to really apply it. And what the sequence was before you go to sleep at night, lie in your bed and just bring your thoughts in as close to your personal now moment as you can, and just focus upon how good the bed feels, how good the pillow feels, how nice the fabric is, how comfortable your body is in the bed. In other words, just right here to things right here, appreciating and noticing and basking. Okay. We said pretend that your bed is floating and feel its soft motion, or feel that your bed is soft bubbles and that your body is being absorbed into it. But focus in that way so that you just feel your relationship with this good feeling moment, and then drift off to sleep. Now we'll give you a little advanced announcement about that. When you go to sleep in the vortex, you wake up in the vortex. If you go to sleep out of the vortex, even though you reemerge into non-physical during the night, when you wake up and reemerge back into your body, you claim the same vibrational place that you were before you reemerged. And so by basking your way to sleep, when you wake up, talk about getting up on the right side of the bed. When you wake up, you're in that same vibration. So then we said, the step 2 of this series of processes is lie in your bed with the intention of appreciating. Now as you're appreciating, start with where you are and then start appreciating outward a little bit, and you'll notice that the further you get from where you are, the more likely you are to find something to fuss and worry about. But your goal is to stay in bed for at least another 5 minutes, maintaining the vibration of appreciation. And then get up, brush your teeth, have your breakfast, do whatever you need to do, and then sit with the intention of doing a focus wheel. A focus wheel meaning cleaning up some frayed vibration on something that happened yesterday. So Esther started carrying a little tape recorder with her because she can't write when she's driving, or a notepad that she can write in when she's not driving. And she began sort of collecting things that she could feel were out of alignment. Something would happen and she would say, oh good, something to do a focus wheel on. So she would collect a list, sometimes a short list, sometimes a rather long list of things that she wanted to clean up. So now she's basked her way before she's gone to sleep, she's basked her way as she is awakened in the morning, and she's still in the vortex, and now she's going to do a focus wheel. Now as she approaches the focus wheel, it takes her outside the vortex, because focusing upon what the problem was took her there, but it also focuses her right back into it. And as Esther was doing these focus wheels, she found herself just looking forward to them, because it was sort of like that rush you get when the wave takes you and gives you the ride on your surfboard. In other words, it takes a while to catch the wave, but once it gets a hold of you, how exhilarating it is for a little while. And so as Esther was doing these focus wheels, she felt the exhilaration of them, and then after the focus wheel had brought her firmly back into alignment on a subject that had been out of alignment and now is feeling so good that it's in alignment, then we said, now move into a list of positive aspects about this subject. In other words, now you're in the vortex, milk it, stabilize yourself, hold yourself in the vortex as long as you can, and then move into a rampage of appreciation on whatever the subject is. What you begin to notice is this sequence of events causes your intellectual conversations about things to move into this emotional vortex where you begin to be the ultimate emotion. that is sublime is your complete and utter blending with the whole of who you are, you see. And just by this little handful of processes, you find yourself in the vortex in such a powerful way that then everything around you starts demonstrating to you that you're in the vortex. Traffic moves for you, the weather cooperates with you, the people that you're interacting with are comfortable to interact with. The walk you take causes a rendezvous with meaningful conversation, and being in the vortex gives you the sensation of being carried and catered to and cared to by a loving energy that has the facility to orchestrate like nothing that you've ever experienced before. And it's that knowledge that we want you to achieve. Once you have allowed yourself to bathe in the energy of this vortex on purpose, just because you focused your intellect and got yourself in there, you will know the invincibility of your being. You will know the power of your being. You will know the worthiness of your being. And can you know the invincibility of your being if you don't know the worthiness of your being? You see what we're getting at? So it just takes practice. It just takes practice. It takes a desire to feel good, and it takes practice to feel good.
So this is the process then of appreciation of the contrast.
Well, once you get into the vortex, in other words, that's Esther found herself there really fast because something would happen that was annoying, but her first thought was, oh good, something to focus wheel tomorrow.
There's a chance
because this is an opportunity for me to take that ride again, because it's such an exhilarating ride to go from out of the vortex to into the vortex. There's no ride that feels better than out of the vortex into the vortex. There's nothing that feels better than out of the vortex into the vortex. There's nothing that feels better than out of the vortex into the vortex. That's why you came. You said, I'll go, I'll sift, I'll get out of the vortex and then into the vortex. You do it eternally. Do you think you would do something eternally that didn't have a bigger payoff than a downside? It's huge, you see, it's huge. But when you're out of the vortex, why am I here? Why would I be born to you? Why would I work for you? Why would I work in this God-forsaken place? Why?
Okay.
So what happens is you can take where you stand in any point in time, and you can find your balance if you want to. You just have to want to.
You have to want to.
Give you an example. So the last week, Jerry and Esther have been recording the new book, which is about relationships. It's about law of attraction in relationships. It's called The Vortex, where law of attraction assembles all cooperative relationships. And as they are reading it, they are riveted by it and rippled by it. They are feeling the exhilaration of it and the power of it, and they can hardly wait for it to be manifested so that you can feast your eyes upon it and feel the movement of your energy because of it. So as they were sitting to do it, they're in their bus and they are in an RV park that is not necessarily beautiful. It is not beautiful at all. And Esther's view out of her window where she was sitting to record was the blinding white side of another bus, but not a pretty vista at all. And they're in Colorado, where they often take river rides and go to Estes Park and meet with their grandkids and do all kinds of wonderful things. And so sitting and looking at the side of this trailer was a far cry from what Esther really wanted to do in that moment. So as they sat to begin the recording, Esther was all sort of outside of the vortex and feeling deprived, and to add to it, every time an airplane would go over, they couldn't record. And when the man started mowing, they couldn't record. And when the dog was barking, they couldn't record. And then when it got to be 90 degrees, it was too hot to not have the air conditioners running, but you can't have the air conditioners running while you're recording. And so all of these things were potential dynamics in the midst of all of this. And so Esther said to Jerry, I need to get myself into alignment. In other words, we can push our way through this, but I want to get into alignment. Abraham, help me get into alignment. So we said, everything that you are living in any point in time really is about in and out. It's about the energy in and the energy out. It's about the alignment. When you breathe, if you breathe out more than you breathe in, you get out of alignment. If you spend more than you are receiving, you get out of alignment. And so you want to find a way to come into alignment. And so as we approached this subject of where they were sitting there to do this recording, and were focused upon just the physical environment of where they were, there were so many other things that Esther would have rather been doing. In fact, almost anything else. Let's take a walk, let's go to the river, let's go to the mountains, let's call our kids and ask them to come right now. In other words, there were many things that when she evaluated them, she would have rather been doing. And so when she focused on that specific subject, she could not find alignment. And so we encouraged her to step back from the specifics of your physical comfort in this moment and try to find another in and out that is more comfortable. So the next thing that came to mind was, well, we're making a product that people will purchase, but there is no possible way that Esther could ever sort out the financial remuneration that she will receive for this against the price that she was paying to create it. In other words, she said to Jerry, we can never sell enough of these to make it worth this.
Yeah.
It's just not enough people in this world. And we said, again, that focus, there was no way that she could find her balance about that. So then we said, you have to step back a little further. Step back a little further and remember why you are doing this work and what this work is about. And what is the value of getting into alignment with Abraham and letting Abraham deliver the message of this book in auditory fashion so that the people who are hearing the book can hear it in the way that we really meant it. And Esther felt herself click right into alignment. In other words, she had to want alignment enough and be willing to focus somehow, some way to get into alignment. Do you get what we're talking about? We're not saying to you that you could ever stand right in an uncomfortable place and feel good about where you're standing. But what we are saying to you is that you have the ability to focus yourself in a way that you can get into the vortex no matter what. And when you get into the vortex, it doesn't matter where you are. They spent 3, almost 4 of the best days of their experience ever in a trailer park with no view, with some oil well or something making awful smells, in a state of sublime connection, because they focused themselves into alignment. Are you getting what we're getting at? We're not telling you this story because we want you for a moment to think that Jerry and Esther are ever paying any sort of price for this work. In other words, Esther has to be in the vortex before we can flow through her at all, you see.
Right.
And when you realize that your vortex is there and that you have created it and that it is magnificent and that you can get in it no matter what, you just have to find a train of thought that gets you in. You just have to keep feeling until you find the train of thought that gets you in and find the train of thought that gets you in. You'll get so good at getting in the vortex that we won't have a conversation and say, I think I'm hanging out on the brink of hope. You'll say, in a determined and focused way, I focus myself into my vortex over and over again all day long, and the majority of my life is lived from inside the vortex. And we would say, good, that's exactly what you intended when you decided to come forth into this body to begin with. Step out occasionally to put more stuff in, and then get in and line up with it, because we don't think you should have to croak in order to live the fullness of what this life has carved out for you. Did we hear this come to an ending? You're feeling satisfied?
I am good.
Good time for a segment of refreshment.